Hello class. Today we're starting with translations. It's the first transformation that we're going to be discussing this chapter. Today we're going to learn how to translate a figure on the coordinate plane. Some vocabulary for this section is transformations, pre-image, image, translation, congruent. And then we have the symbol A prime is read as A prime. So the vocab startup. A transformation is an operation that maps an original geometric figure, the pre-image, onto a new figure called the image. A translation slides a figure from one position to another without turning it. So in your own words, see if you can define what a translation is. List 3 characteristics, draw an example, and draw a non-example. And here you can see it's a slide without turning or flipping. The shape stays the same size, and it faces the same way. And on the bottom left, there's an example of a translation. And over here, this is not an example of a translation because the image is flipped. So if you need to pause, you can rewrite that. When a figure is translated, the x-coordinate of the pre-image changes by the value of the horizontal translation. The y-coordinate of the pre-image changes by the vertical translation. So here, A is being slid over, 1, 2, 3, and it's translated 2 down. Same with B, it's going over, 1, 2, 3, and 2 down. So now graph triangle JKL with vertices. J is -3, 4, K is 1, 3, and L is -1, 4. Then graph the image of triangle JKL after a translation of 2 units to the right and 5 units down. Write the coordinates of its vertices. So first, J is at -3, 4, so you go over 3 and up 4. For K, 1, 3, you go over 1 and up 3. And for L, you go to the left 4 and up 1. So that's your image, that's your original figure. And now you want to translate it 2 to the right and 5 down. So for each point, you want to count over 2 to the right. So that's increasing your x's by 2. And going down 5 is decreasing your y's by 5. So each point, you can count over 2 and down 5. So if you see J, if you count over 1, 2, down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this is where J prime will be. Same with K, you count over 2 and down 5. Here's K prime. And for L, you count over 2 and down 5. So now you need to list the new coordinates. So J prime is at -1, -1. K prime, 1, 2, 3, 3, -2. And L prime, we're going to the left 2, so that's -2. And then you're going down 1, 2, 3, 4. So -2, -4. Okay, now graph triangle ABC with vertices of A at -2, 2, B, 3, 4, and C, 4, 1. Then graph the image of triangle ABC after a translation 2 units to the left and 5 down. So A is at -2, 2. B is at 3, 4, so you go over to 3 and count up 4, and there's B. And C is at 4, 1, so you go over 4 and up 1. So that's your original. And now we want to translate it 2 units to the left, so that means you're decreasing your x's by 2. And then 5 units down, you're decreasing your y's by 5. So each point you want to count over 2 to the left and down 5. So if we start with B, you count over 2 and down 5. And that's B prime. C, you go over 2 and down 5. And A, you count over 2 and down 5. Make sure you put the prime symbols, because this is A prime, B prime, and C prime. And now you have to list the new coordinates. So A prime is now at, we count over on our x first, go -1, -2, -3, -4, -1, -2, -3. B prime, we go over 1 on the x, so it's 1, -1. And then C prime, we go over 2 on the x, so it's 2, -1, -2, -3, -4. Again, just giving you some time to make sure you're writing this all down. If you need to pause, you can pause. If you need to rewind, rewind. You could go at your own pace. Okay, triangle XYZ has vertices of x at -1, -2, y 6, -3, and z 2, -5. Find the vertices of triangle x prime, y prime, z prime after a translation of 2 to the left and 1 up. Well, going 2 units to the left is going to change your x, and it's going to decrease them by 2. And going 1 unit up is changing your y's by 1. So what you want to do for all your x coordinates, you want to subtract 2, and all your y coordinates, you want to add 1. So when you have the point -1, -2, x is your -1, and -2 is the y. So for the x's, you want to subtract 2, the y's, you want to add 1. So if you subtract 2 from your x, -1 minus 2 is -3. If you add 1 to your y, -2 plus 1 is -1. So x prime is now -3, -1. Okay, so y, we're at 6, -3. Again, we want to subtract 2 from the x, which is the 6. So we do 6 minus 2. And then we want to add 1 to our y. So -3 plus 1. So now y prime becomes 6 minus 2 is 4. And -3 plus 1 is -2. Okay, now z. Again, we want to translate it 2 units to the left and 1 unit up. So z is at 2, -5. So we want to subtract 2 from our x. So we're going to do 2 minus 2. And then we're going to do -5 plus 1. So 2 minus 2 gives us 0. And -5 plus 1 is 4. So this is a way of translating without having to graph. And now we have rectangle ABCD with vertices of A, -3, 2, B, 2, 2, C, 2, -3, and D, -3, -3. And now we want to translate it 4 units to the right and 2 down. Well, going 4 to the right is going to increase our x's by 4. Going down is going to change our y's by 2. So each point we want to add 4 to the x's and subtract 2 from the y's. So A was at -3, 2. Now since we're going 4 to the right, we're going to add 4 to our x, and we're going down 2, we're going to subtract 2 from the y. So now A prime will be at, well, -3 plus 4 is 1, and 2 minus 2 is 0. So that's A prime. B was at 2, 2. So again, we're adding 4 to the x, and we're subtracting 2 from the y's. So we have 2 plus 4 and 2 minus 2. So B prime will now be at, well, 2 plus 4 is 6, and 2 minus 2 is 0. So B prime is at 6, 0. Now we have C at 2, negative 3. Since we're going 4 units to the right, we have to add 4 to our x. Going down 2, we subtract 2 from the y's. So C prime is now at, well, 2 plus 4 is 6, and then negative 3 minus 2 is negative 5. Okay, now we want to translate D. D was at negative 3, negative 3. So we want to add 4 to the x, subtract 2 to the y. Okay, and D prime will now be at, well, negative 3 plus 4 is 1, and negative 3 minus 2 is negative 5. So D prime is at 1, negative 5. Remember, if you need to pause or rewind, you could do that at your own pace. Okay, number 3, a computer image is being translated to create the illusion of movement. Use translation notation to describe the translation from point A to point B. Well, we can see point A is at the point 3, 3, and B is at 2, 1. So we want to figure out which way we moved on our x. Well, we moved over to the left 1, and we went down 2. So our x decreased by 1. So we subtracted 1 from the x, and our y went down by 2. So we subtracted 2 from the y. So that's our notation, x minus 1 and y minus 2. The character below is translated from point A to point B. Use translation notation to describe the translation. So how did we get from the bottom character to the top character? Well, our y's are going up, so we increase on the y, and we decrease on the x because we went left. So we went up 4, so our y changed by 4, and our x's went to the left 2, so we decreased by 2. If you want to look at it this way, we went to the left 2 and then up 4. So to show this in notation, our x's went to the left 2, so that was x minus 2. Our y went up 4, so that was y plus 4. If point P, negative 3, 2, is translated 3 units to the right and 2 units down, what are the coordinates of P prime? So this is what I want you to try on your own, and hand in this question along with the rest of the packet with me once you have completed it, and I will give you your next worksheet.